I had my marquee in the rain and the hail and the storms down at a farmer's market, trying to convince every person that walked past the market stall to come and just try the products.
Welcome to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'm your host, Maritza Barone. In this show, I will introduce you to ideas, concepts, and mindsets that will open your mind to a new world of well-being and personal life growth. Through eye-opening interviews, we elevate people in the world doing amazing things for humanity and share insights that will shift you to become the happiest, healthiest, kindest, and most compassionate version of you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Things You Can't Unhear. Now today we've got Kate Johansson on the show. Kate left a career in the supplement industry to create her own brand called KOJA, which is a range of healthy products rich in nutrients and plant-based protein without all the bad stuff like excess sugar and artificial additives found in so many other product ranges. And over the last 7 years, Kate has followed her passion for good nutrition to create a now thriving business from what started as a small side hustle. Her business got some great publicity when she appeared in Shark Tank in its early years. And although she has had interest from many investors over the time she's been operating, she's actually managed to keep 100% of the company ownership and has successfully landed her products on the shelves of all Coles stores nationally around Australia. So we invited Kate on the show to talk to us about the basic principles and awareness of nutrition, plus her journey and background to bring her passion to life and how she grew her side hustle to this amazing level. So if you're interested in business guidance and good nutrition, this episode is for you. Welcome, Kate, to the show. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
We've had a range of different life coaches and amazing people on the show talk to us about mindset. And I really wanted to bring you on to talk about your career journey and the building of your business, because it's such an amazing success story that has just flourished so organically through your passion. Tell us a little bit about your journey and background and the beautiful, amazing range of healthy products that you have started.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of KOJA. I started the business 5 years ago. Our best-selling products right now are our natural peanut butter bars, and they're available in Coles nationally, which is very exciting. That's just happened in the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks.
So that's a huge milestone for any company, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it all started 5 years ago with a completely different product range. I had my marquee in the rain and the hail and the storms down at a farmer's market, and trying to convince every person that walked past the market stall to come and just try the products and just at least give me some hope that they might buy. There was some very, very boring Saturdays and challenging Saturdays at farmers markets a long time ago. So it hasn't all been a straight path to success, as I'm sure any business owner would relate to. But my background before I started KOJA, I actually worked for a supplement business. So that was a startup. It was based out of the Carlton Football Club, and my role was to develop a range of supplements, so commercialize them. It was a new product development role. I was given formulas of supplements and sort of multivitamin type pills and sports supplements, protein powders, things like that the exercise physiology team at Carlton Football Club wanted their players to take. And I should preface this and say, I believe that supplementation, if you're a professional athlete, to get that extra maybe 1% is probably necessary. But for the average Australian that's just looking to be healthy, I don't believe in supplementation, especially when it is so synthetic like these products were.
This tends to come up a lot when I'm interviewing people in the well-being world, in the health and wellness world, is that supplements are being judged and tested right now.
Yeah, and supplements it's a very big category and a big. There are some supplements that if you're low in iron and you need iron, it's worth supplementing your diet with a good quality iron supplement. So I think it's dangerous to blanket all supplements as bad. But this was this was 2012. So it was around the time when Swiss as a company was very, very successful. Everyone had a bottle of Swiss vitamins on their desk or their kitchen table. And it was like, you can't be healthy unless you're taking a multivitamin. And that was something that I really disagreed with. But I did see the commercial success of that product and thought there's got to be something here in terms of the ease and simplicity of a supplement. But fundamentally, I knew from my own personal experience that real food is so much better for us and really does make us feel better.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of what led to starting KOJA.
Definitely. I think everyone would agree that food and nutrition is better for us. But when we think about supplements not working at all
and the side effects.
So what side effects
of all the other stuff
of the synthetic ingredient?
Yeah. So I think, vitamin C is a common supplement that a lot of people take, but what most people don't realize, and it isn't on the pack, is that vitamin C is a water-soluble vitamin. So your body cannot store it. So you have to have a small amount every day, ideally from food or from a supplement, but ideally from food. But you can't absorb more than what your body can absorb in a day. So if you're having for breakfast or a salad, a little bit of tomato, half an orange, and, in a salad for dinner, something, a little bit of capsicum or a tomato-based pasta sauce or something like that, you really don't have to try very hard to get your vitamin C for the day. And then if you're supplementing it, all you're doing is flushing through expensive, maybe vitamin C isn't the most expensive supplement, but it's just such a waste because your body can't absorb more.
And that's why where it's coming out in our urine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Expensive pee, that's the supplement industry.
It's been said a few times on this podcast, I've got to say. So obviously that was the motivation for you to start your own range because you're so passionate about nutrition through food. So tell us how the journey kicked off from there.
It's been a long 5 years. Business is not easy, and it certainly hasn't been an easy road. So I think it takes a lot out of you. I wouldn't change my journey for the world. I love it, and I love all of the hardship that I've gone through to get to where we are today. And there's plenty of hardship to go. It's not, you don't just get into Coles and sit back on your yacht and drink your champagne and go, okay, I'm done. It's very much not like that at all. But if you've got it in you and you've got that drive, it is the best thing I've ever done.
What was the first step you took to kickstarting your business?
There are so many different steps. I think that's one of the challenges of starting a business is it's not just a single step. There's no one area that you have to be good at. You have to be across so many different elements of the business. I think the first thing that I focused on when I wanted to start KOJA was what is essentially our brand. But at the time, I didn't even know it was our brand. It was more just what I believed in. And then that is closely followed by, well, what makes us different to what's out there? And that is your brand. We understand that now, years on. But at the time, I looked at what was available in the market and thought, okay, well, I want to be different. So what am I? And it's really easy to look at who you are as a brand by looking at what you're not. So I was looking at the supplement industry and going, okay, we are not these heavily processed protein bars. We are not this pill that promises, weight loss. We are not a meal replacement shake. So that was very easy to say, we're nothing artificial. We are nothing artificially sweetened or with additives and preservatives and low quality protein sources and highly processed and flavored. And yeah, don't get me started. So we're definitely not all of that. But then also when you get to the supermarket, there are a lot of food products that I wouldn't define as food. So that was the other step. It was like, okay, well, we are a food brand, but we're not, I think the food aisle in the health food aisle in the supermarket is full of a lot of products that are masquerading as health food products. So they might have all these amazing claims on the front, but if you have a look at their sugar content, they're, 45% sugar. So that was probably my first step in business. I really worked out, okay, well, what is currently available for the consumer? It's a heavily crowded industry, and most successful markets are very crowded, but luckily food is quite a fragmented space. So I was able to define where we would fit and what our unique selling proposition would be.
That's incredible. And later on in this episode, or later on in this chat, I want to talk about your advice on how to grow our own passion projects and our own side hustles, because I know this started as a side hustle for you, and you were working 2 jobs at the same time to get this built up. But I do really want to touch on your knowledge and the basic awareness on nutrition, because you just touched on it there. And I walking through supermarket shelves can get so confusing for so many of us. There's marketing ploys that make you believe something's natural, make you believe it's healthy for you, make you believe you're doing something good for your body when in fact you're not. And that's including the star ratings on packaging as well, which I learned some months ago I could not trust. So what is your advice on how to be aware of the best choices we have in the supermarket? Obviously fruit and vegetables are the go-to, but when it's not that, what is your advice?
Yeah. I think, people can study years and still get to the supermarket and be confused about labels. I think in your question, you actually mentioned something that was, I think, really relevant. You mentioned trust, and can we trust the claims on most packets? And I think, unfortunately, as a default, and I say this as a food producer that does put all the claims on the front of the labels, but as a consumer, I would recommend your listeners not to trust any claims and not to trust food producers, and have that little element of skepticism when you shop at the supermarket to think, okay, well, if something says, one of the claims that absolutely gets me quite angry, I'll use the PG term, but no added sugar is on a lot of claims. And so our industry is regulated by Food Standards Australia and New Zealand, or FANS. They have one claim called no added sugar. And so you can put this on your packaging as long as you don't add white sugar or honey or like sweeteners, syrups and things like that. But most consumers understand that claim as, okay, well, no added sugar, that means this product is low in sugar. And that's a pretty sensible, link to follow. You see no added sugar, you presume the product is low sugar. So if you're trying to make a healthy choice for that day, you've heard that sugar's bad for you. Your friends and family are all telling you that you shouldn't eat too much sugar. We know that too much sugar is bad for us. So you pick up the bar that's got the no added sugar claim, but it's got 45 grams of sugar in one serve, and milk chocolate's got 30 grams of sugar in its serve. So that claim to me is really frustrating. And the loophole, especially in bars and snack bars where we sit, the loophole in that claim is dried fruit. So when you put dried fruit in a bar, you can still say no added sugar. But the dried fruit that's commonly used is dates, which is 60 to 75% pure sugar. And, yes, the nutritionist listening will say, oh, fruit sugar is better for you than white sugar. But I would argue only marginally, like very, very marginally. There are some, trace nutrients in dates that might be 1% better for you than white sugar. But overall, and I think for a lot of people when they're focusing on their health, it is about weight management. And possibly if we're on a health kick, losing weight. Even if we're not on a health kick, not gaining weight is often a priority for Australians. And if you eat a date-based bar or all of that sugar, whether it comes from white table sugar or dates, it's going to be metabolized the same way. And if you're sitting at your desk trying to get work done, you're not going to be burning it off, and it does turn to fat. So I think this is one of the challenges that we have as a brand, is trying to educate people around how to read food labels, and it's not an easy job. So, I mean, I've started the question with something very specific as an example, but I'd like to then go back and answer the question with some basic advice. So whilst I've probably, made a lot of your listeners concerned about, I can't trust any brands and things like that, from my personal point of view, one thing that I always try to focus on is not to worry too much about eating, and also what my body looks like. And that maybe sounds counterintuitive for someone that's in the health food space, but I think as part of our tagline, it's real food, feel better. And feel better is something that I'm really focused on. I know that as a woman, and probably a lot of your female listeners can relate, it's very easy to overthink what we're eating and how many calories we're consuming and what our body looks like, and if we're at the goal weight that we should be for the event that's coming up. But I think in terms of overall health, something that I've learned is not to focus and concern yourself too much with what you're eating. And I think in this industry, a lot of people call it intuitive eating. I don't like the labels. I don't follow any diets, but I just think real food is my focus. So if you know that 80% of the food that you eat on a daily or a weekly basis is real food, and only 20% or less, I mean, ideally, I think my diet's probably around 5% products and then 95% real food, and doing whatever's achievable for you as a person. If you're 100% processed food, maybe aim to eat 50% real food. And by real food, I mean unpackaged products. So things like fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, eggs, depending on if you're on your eating preferences, if you're eating fish and meat or dairy products, depending on your eating preferences, but not eating packaged processed foods. So when your body is nourished, we don't crave more food. So that makes sense from a physical point of view. But then also for me, there was a real mental shift.
It's the mental side of it, I think, as well, that you benefit from without even knowing, when you're eating the right foods and you're doing what serves your body in the best possible way.
When I started KOJA, I basically put that in the tagline, feel better. And that was exactly what happened. It was twofold. I felt better because I was eating better food, and so I was more nourished, but I also felt better because I wasn't wasting all that energy on waking up every day and being like, how am I going to diet today? My philosophy is that health should be part of your life, but not, something that you have to go and study. I don't want anyone to feel like they have to spend hours in front of, a book or the internet to learn what is in all your food. So I think the main thing for if you want to stay healthy and eat real food is to not buy packaged products. And I know that sounds very counterintuitive when I sell packaged products, but one thing hopefully your listeners will learn is that KOJA is different. So we don't have all of the additives and preservatives that are in a lot of packaged goods. But in terms of overall health, definitely prioritizing unpackaged foods as the main part of what you eat every day. And so then you don't have to worry about reading labels. You don't have to, look at a banana and be like, oh my God, how many carbs are in this? Don't worry about that, is what I would say. If you're eating mostly whole foods, don't worry about the nutrient profile of them. If you're eating a wide variety of fruit and veg and nuts and seeds, you are going to be getting all the nutrients that you need. When it does come to packaged goods, and particularly, in our space, when you're looking for a convenient, healthy snack, there are a few things that I would like consumers to know more about. And I think the first is read the ingredients. They're often in fine print on the back, but turn over a product and look at the ingredients. And, this is just common sense. If you recognize the ingredients as food and things that you might have in your pantry, it's going to be better for you. If it's all about numbers and additives and preservatives and emulsifiers and all different types of sugars and fillers and all sorts of strange things on the back, chemicals, thank you, just put it back and keep walking. So yeah, definitely reading the ingredients and just having a bit of a common sense approach. You don't have to know every single ingredient on there, but if 95% of the ingredients are good and real food products that, I mean, ideally it's 100%, but, let's be real. If you can identify most of the ingredients, that would be my first check off. So the second thing I often prioritize is sugar. So all of the ingredients can be clean and natural, but there can be a lot of hidden sugars. And I think for a lot of people who are trying to maintain a healthy weight and also good energy levels, hidden sugars is something that can really, be damaging to the way we feel in an afternoon. And I think when we're snacking, particularly in my industry with, healthy snacks, it's between meals, it's often mid-afternoon, we've had an energy slump perhaps, and we're thinking, okay, I'm going to have a snack to give me more energy to get through the rest of my day. What those high sugar snacks do, and they might be, it might be a protein bar or a protein ball, but with hidden sugars from dates, they give us about 20 minutes or 30 minutes of really high energy from the sugar rush, but then our blood sugars come crashing back down, and that leaves us feeling worse than before. So definitely have a look at the sugar content.
The dates, for example, are a real food, aren't they?
Yeah.
But why are they particularly so bad for us?
Because they're 70% pure sugar.
And so when we're choosing real foods, are there real foods, obviously dates is one of them, but that we need to limit? Are there real foods?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the problem I have with dates is that we don't eat them as whole dates. Some people do, and I think that's very healthy to have one or two medjool dates as a treat. But where I'm coming from is when they're hidden in processed products, and the packet might say, whole food natural protein bar, no added sugar. So you would presume that's a very healthy snack. But when you have a look at the ingredients, and dates are one of the first two ingredients, and you look at the sugar per 100 grams, and it is like 30 or 40 grams per 100 grams, you're going to be getting more than what you need in a day, and more than what, if you're going hiking, fantastic. Yeah. Eat the date-based bar and go and hike a mountain. But for most of us, we're probably sitting at a desk, or we're at home, or, we don't want all that hidden sugar and excess sugar in our bloodstream for the afternoon.
So what's the ideal sugar level if you're picking up a snack bar, for example?
So our bars are under 10% sugar. So per bar, there's only our lowest sugar product is 3.7 grams per bar, compared to one of the claims we use is 75% less sugar. And I'm actually doing a content piece at the moment that looks at 30-gram protein balls and 40-gram protein bars that are date-based, and they have 15 to 16 grams of sugar in one serve. So compared to ours at 3.7, we're a lot less.
And so what makes them taste good without the dates and without the jam-packed sugar?
Yeah, sure. Our bars focus on nuts. So our peanut butter bars, they're higher in those healthy fats that are really good for our hearts and our bodies. So what we focused on instead of a real sweet hit is that creamy texture that you get from eating nuts.
There's so much great information in that, and so much for us to think about. So how would you summarize your overall health philosophy?
Well, I think, it's hard to, I think one thing to note before I even answer that is that healthy is different for everyone. So my personal health philosophy might not be right for you. It might not be right for anyone listening. It's about working out what's right for you. And so, I can tell you about mine, but it might not be relevant for anyone listening. I think for me, the things that I focus on are energy. So I work pretty hard and I like to fit a lot into my days and my weeks. So energy is probably the number one priority. And I don't want to be having those blood sugar ups and downs throughout the day. So that means limiting the sugar intake in my day, so that I know, if I have a high sugar snack mid-afternoon, I'm buzzing for about 20 minutes, and then I come crashing down, and that leads to probably irritability. So yeah, energy and sustained energy throughout the day. is big for me. And then digestion. So I prioritize eating foods that are really high in fibre. Fibre, I think, is one of the most underrated nutrients in the health food industry. Everyone talks about protein and all different sorts of other claims, but not no one, but there's very little. Fibre's not very sexy, but from a nutrition standpoint, it is probably one of the best things you can do for your body. More high fibre foods allow us to draw more nutrition out of the food that we're eating, so our body can get more nutrition out of what we're already eating. It also helps us with digestion. So if you've ever had problems with, bloating and things like that, fibre is a really good nutrient in the food that we're eating that can definitely minimize bloating.
What real foods do you eat mostly to get the fibre?
So fibre, the best source of fibre is fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. Fibre is also in whole grains, so things like rolled oats, if you're having them for breakfast, are a really good source of fibre. Some breads, but I hesitate to recommend bread as a fibre source because a lot of breads have got no fibre, and it's also not the most efficient way of getting fibre. I think, bread can be too easy to consume, and if I'm telling your listeners to eat bread for the fibre, I don't think that's the right advice. I'd be saying eat vegetables, like whole food vegetables. Energy is a priority for me. Fibre and digestion, I don't want to be bloated, or I want to be pretty regular, if you know what I mean. And then the third thing is just managing a healthy weight. And so for me, that doesn't come without some thought to it. If I ate whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, I'd probably gain weight. So it is something that I have to think about, probably not on a daily basis, but I'd say on a weekly basis. I need to make sure that I'm not overeating and that I'm not having, too much of the good foods. Because I am a foodie. I love nothing more than, I think my ideal Saturday afternoon would be a glass of wine and a cheese plate. But if I ate that every weekend, I wouldn't be very healthy.
And that's where you've got your 10 to 20% of time to splurge and relax and enjoy life with no boundaries, I suppose.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that information. I do want to move on to how to grow our own passions and our side hustles, because you've been so successful in doing yours. So obviously it was your passion that led to the growth of this brand, and you've grown it to incredible levels over 6 to 7 years, which is great. How did you stay motivated on your journey? Because I know there's obviously ups and downs with any business, and one growing so quickly as well. How did you stay motivated when things got tough, or when workloads were just unbearable, or when you were feeling tested? What was the thing that kept you going?
I am so genuinely passionate about what we're creating. So when times do get tough and, you do get demotivated, but it's not about becoming demotivated, but it's about going, okay, today I'm demotivated. What do I need to do to get motivated again? And sometimes that might just be, okay, taking an hour or half a day or a day to, rest. Often I get demotivated when I'm overworked and overtired. So sometimes it's just about, having a break and stepping back from the day-to-day and the to-do lists and the productivity measuring and all of that rubbish that we do as business owners. But getting away from all of that and having maybe half a day to myself. But then for me, it's very easy to come back to being motivated because I am so passionate about what we're doing here. I really do see a gap in the industry for real food products. And whenever I go to the supermarket and I see, people standing in the health food aisle trying to make a healthy choice, and I really relate to them because that was me. I was standing there 10 or so years ago going, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to be healthier. I want to feel better. What do I do? And you're looking at all the claims on the front of the packets and, whatever one you choose, you're hoping that that's going to help you achieve your goals. And my motivation comes from the reality that there's a lot of products in the health food aisle that aren't going to help you achieve your goals. So I want to be the one product or products. We're working on some new ranges. But yeah, I just want to keep creating products that actually do deliver on what customers need and want.
So great. So when you, I know you were juggling this side hustle for about 12 months in the lead up to growing the business. How did you manage your time from having a full-time job and growing something on the side so well?
Yeah, I mean, it's really challenging. One thing that I always often think about is focus. And it's really hard, I believe, and maybe this is different for different people, but for me, there's been stages through KOJA where I've tried to focus on a couple of different projects. I might have had, even if it wasn't like the first 12 months, I worked 4 days a week, and then I was trying to build KOJA. So you end up working 7 days a week. But then even in the first, the second year of KOJA, there was another project that I tried to start on the side. And it was always about, I was splitting my focus, and it never works. I think you've got to be pretty clear about what your priority is. So if you've got a full-time job and a side hustle, I think you've got to work out pretty quickly what your number one focus is. And don't tell your employer this, but if your dream is to turn your side hustle into a successful business, that's got to be your number one focus. And the job that pays the rent has also, obviously it's important, but it's got to come second to your number one focus, which is building the business. For me, I mean, I still needed to pay the rent. KOJA didn't really make any money for the first, I'm going to say 3 years. And so that's a long time to pay rent and living expenses without much of an income. So for the first 12 months, like I said, I was working in a job, and then I was working evenings. I was still making the product myself, so I was going to like a commercial kitchen for the evening shift, making the product. Some Friday nights I finished at midnight, and I'd be up at 4:30 a.m. to go to the farmers market. It's not a sustainable lifestyle. But yeah, my advice for anyone who does have a side hustle, I think it's about framing what your priority is. So what is your focus? Is it, and making that decision. For some people, a side hustle might not be their number one focus. It might always be a side hustle, and that's okay. But if it is a side hustle that you want to become a successful business that you can then move full time into, it's got to be your number one priority.
I love seeing people like you succeed and really achieve your goals, because it's not through lack of hard work that you have done so. So it's so great to see, your brand start to flourish after everything you've put into it. When you look back to what you've achieved, how does it make you feel now that you've put in all that time and all of that hard work?
I think success for me is not a destination, and this is not unique to my thinking. I think this is something that it's like happiness is not a destination. You don't get there and go, okay, I'm done, and I still feel like I'm at the very beginning. I still struggle to define myself as successful and my business as successful, which is, I don't know if that's a female thing, or maybe it's just because I see the potential of where the business can get to. And I go, okay, this is where we are now. And, 5 years ago when I started, this would have been an absolute dream come true. But now that we're here, I'm already looking at what's next and knowing that there's more to achieve. For me personally, I would define success as being able to do something that I love on a day-to-day basis. So not waking up every morning and going, oh shit, I've got to go to work. And that's not to say that doesn't happen some days. Like some days I'm definitely like, yeah, actually can't be bothered tackling
Namaste
that.
in bed.
Yeah, totally. But success for me is just like freedom. So being able to, if I want to take a morning off, yeah, it's going to mean that I have to work later that night, or I have to work that weekend. And I do work a lot I probably work most weekends, just getting some stuff done. But I've got that flexibility through the week to manage my own week. So I would define that as part of success.
Totally.
But yeah, mainly for me, success is just being able to do something that I love and genuinely enjoy. I'm not about making millions. I mean, I do hope that KOJA gets to that point, because it will mean that more people are eating better products and we're getting our message out there, and we've got more funding and more revenue in the business to be able to spread that message further. But it's, for me, like, building this business is not about, racking up a huge bank account and buying a mansion and a boat and whatever people do with lots of money. It's just not, that's not a motivation of mine.
That's not your motivator. You're genuinely living a passion of yours. So it's so great to see. And if you could finally, as a last question, what would you say to someone who has a passion that they're yet to ignite?
I think the best thing that I did is, so there's so much fear. Can I just add that in? There is so much fear with everything, and running your own business, starting your own business. There's always going to be fear, and it's not about eliminating the fear. It's just about doing it anyway. So if I ever get to a point where I'm too comfortable, I know we're not doing enough. So I always want to be on that edge of uncomfortable, fear, being anxious about the next step that we're taking in the business, because that for me means that we are pushing the boundaries and doing something exciting. So that's the first point to make, is that it's not about, fear is not something to be afraid of. Fear is something to really embrace. And then so my advice for someone that is wanting to, tackle the new business world would be to find someone that you look up to that's done it, and that you can have a pretty honest mentor relationship with. Especially, I think, for women, being able to find someone who you can be really honest with about how you feel is really important. And if you can find a mentor that gets it, I think that's been one of the main things that's been at a time where, and there's been several times throughout the life of KOJA where I've thought, oh God, what am I doing? Like, is this ever going to work, or are we ever going to get any traction? The thing that has kept me focused and sane is having a mentor to pick up the phone and go, this has just happened, is this a sign that I should just throw in the towel and da 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 da? And that person to me, and I've got a couple of different people, but there's probably two in particular that have saved me from making terrible decisions in the business by turning around and going, no, this is fantastic. Like, look at what you've done. Like, forget about that one huge thing that's happened today. Look at everything else. This is what you need to do next. And, just really driving me forward. So yeah, that would definitely be my tip to anyone wanting to get started, because it's a pretty challenging road, and to have someone who's done it or gets what you're going through. A lot of people don't get it if you've never had your own business. I've got amazing friends that are so supportive, but often they just don't get it. So having people in your life that do get it is really important.
Amazing mentors. Thank you. We didn't mention the big turning point in your business, which was when you were on Shark Tank. How did that all come about?
I was working at a co-working space, and an email went around to everyone in that space that there was, season, I don't think it was even called Shark Tank at that time, because I was on season 1. So it was like Dragon's Den from the UK was coming to Australia, and I just put my hand up. And I think that's something that I have done throughout the business, is just, not being afraid to put your hand up and just give something a go, even if you don't know. I don't think I'm very good at podcasts, but when someone says, would you like to be interviewed for a podcast? I just say yes and do it anyway. I think that was
you are great at podcasts.
Oh. That wasn't me fishing for a compliment, but there we go. I got one.
I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, I think Shark Tank just came about because I put my hand up and went, oh, look, we'll just give it a go and work out how to do this later. And it was an amazing opportunity to get in front of, potentially 250,000 viewers and talk about what I love. I got an offer on the show and we did a deal, but I think the bottom line with Shark Tank is that it's a TV show. It's not a angel investor program or an accelerator program. It's about making good TV shows. So in the end, I did pull out of the deal. So I still own 100% of the business. I've had several, very many investment offers over the last 5 years, and some I've seriously considered, and others I haven't. But in the end, I'm here owning 100% of business with no investors, which is a pretty great place to be in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, Shark Tank was just, I still have customers from Shark Tank days that remember me on the show. I've got a great relationship with some of my online customers that have been buying monthly for 5 years, upwards of 5 years. And I feel like I know them. And that all really started through Shark Tank.
The power of television, hey?
Yes.
And the power of an amazing product. Thank you so much for being on the show. So you're in Coles and you're in Woolies, I believe. So if anyone wants to get their hands on your products, that you can find them there, and also online. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're in Coles nationally in the sports and diet section. So every Coles supermarket in the country. For Woolworths at the moment, we're just trialing in a handful of stores. And yeah, KOJA.com.au. So it's KOJA for our online orders.
Well, thank you so much, Kate. Keep doing what you're doing and inspiring so many other people, and also keeping us healthy and energetic. I'm Maritza Barone. Thank you for listening to the Things You Can't Unhear podcast. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Let us know what you thought of this episode, and if something really profound came up for you that you want to share, let's talk about it. You can find me on Instagram at Things You Can't Unhear, or on my personal page at Maritza_Barone. And if someone you know will benefit from something that was said in this show, make sure you share it with them too. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and keep up to date with what's next. And if you can spare a few seconds, please rate and review the show on iTunes, just so other people can find us more easily and quickly. And as always, my friends, be happy, be healthy, be conscious, and be kind.